Hey folks, last night was the top 5 on Season 9 of American Idol singing the music of Frank Sinatra. Ryan Seacrest said that Frank Sinatra's popularity has not faded with time. Sure, amongst Meemaw and people, but I know very few people under the age of 60 that still listen to Sinatra. Big Band Week has consistently been my least favorite theme throughout the seasons, and the fact that they narrowed the music down to Old Blue Eyes didn't make a damn bit of difference to me. They may as well have done rap or opera. At least that music would have some relevance to today, unlike the music of Frank Sinatra, who is only relevant to this week's mentor, Harry Connick Jr., who I thought did a great job. He was not only mentor, but he was also pianist. That sounds like a dirty word, don't it, pianist? But he was also the composer, which I really wasn't crazy about because the mentor, I feel like, should have a student-teacher relationship in which it doesn't matter how dumb the student is. As long as they try and do their best and listen to the teacher, they should move on to the next week. And this feels like a boss-employee relationship where it's Harry Connick Jr.'s way or the highway. And so I wasn't crazy about that, but I thought he did a good job and he put his best into it. Though I'm not crazy about his music, though. Everything sounded like his music, and I'm not crazy about that. But I have enjoyed a handful of his movies. I loved him in Copycat. But that was a little bit distracting to me because the whole time he was sitting there trying to mentor the contestants, all I could see was Daryl Lee Cullum obsessing over Sigourney Weaver's panties. But he did a good job for what it was worth, and I thought he was pretty funny, too. Nancy and Tina Sinatra were in the audience. Nancy Sinatra looks kind of like a Muppet these days, doesn't she? She kind of favors Donatella Versace. They presented Simon Cowell with one of their dad's old handkerchiefs. Well, isn't that sweet? Save your tissues, kids. They might make a nice gift someday if you make it big. Anyway, the first contestant of the night was Aaron Kelly singing Fly Me to the Moon. I don't think he understood a word that Harry Connick Jr. was trying to tell him. I damn sure didn't. I loved this song when Elvis Costello sang it in the series finale of Third Rock from the Sun. I just watched that the other day, and I thought Aaron did a pretty good job with it, though I thought it sounded better during rehearsal before Harry Connick Jr. corrected it. Aaron was able to put a country twist on it, though, which was nice, but there were times when it felt like he was reaching a little bit too far. That's consistently been my problem with Aaron Kelly. He goes for the too many big notes, and he doesn't quite get them. It was a little bit out of his zone. But overall, I think he's one of the most marketable contestants. He's a very authentic country singer. And of all the authentic country singers we've seen on the show, they've all done pretty well. Kelly Pickler, she's done well. Josh Grayson, he's done well. Bucky Covington, he's done well. Well, I'm not talking about these, artificial country singers like Phil Stacey, these riffraffs who are told near the end of their run that they should be singing country, and then they put out a country album and it doesn't go anywhere. But the ones who are authentically country usually do pretty well, and I think Aaron Kelly will do pretty well even if he does not win. I think his biggest obstacle is that he's a cute young guy, and in country music, you're often dismissed as a pretty boy for that. And we see it with everybody, but you get the sense that Aaron Kelly's not going to be cute for long. I get the sense that when he's about 30 years old, he's going to look like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. So he's probably going to be ugly, but that would be great for his career because you see it with all these country singers, with Tim McGraw and everybody else. Garth Brooks, now when he first started out, he was moderately attractive and the women loved him. But when he bloated up and lost all his hair, the men started liking him too, and that's when his career really took off. So I think the uglier Aaron Kelly gets, the better his career will be in country music. But I think he's going to be just fine. Randy said he was worried most about Aaron because he's so young, but he did a really good job. Ellen said she didn't hear any country at all. I don't agree with that. I heard lots of country in it, and I thought it was great. Carol wanted him to command the stage like Frank Sinatra. And Simon said if Sinatra was a lion, Aaron is a mouse. Next was Casey James singing Blue Skies. Casey had tweeted earlier before the show that this was his first time ever on stage holding a microphone, and it definitely showed. He definitely looked uncomfortable, and I felt really bad for him. If you had asked me 3 weeks ago, I thought there was a very strong chance that Casey James could have been in the finale, but I don't think so now. He seems to have gone into a tailspin over the past couple of weeks, being in the bottom 3 and having some really awful performances. And now they didn't let him play his guitar this week. It's like taking a pacifier away from a baby. It's pretty cruel, isn't it? Casey sounded awful. The vibrato, it was just worse than it usually is, if that's even possible. I felt like I was watching an audition for the Cowardly Lion on The Wizard of Oz. But of course I wasn't expecting Casey to do well this week. Casey only does well with 2 types of songs, and even though Sinatra music seems like it should be pretty simple, it was really out of his range. Randy said, "For me, this was your worst performance, dude," and Casey laughed. He knew it was the truth. Ellen said it felt very stiff. What the hell does Ellen DeGeneres know about stiff? That was awful of me. Cara Dioguardi thought his vibrato was out of control like a lamb. And she's just now noticing this. I've been saying this since day one that Casey James sounds like a billy goat, and I was wondering if anybody was going to bring it up this season, and finally somebody has. I just wish it hadn't been Cara Dioguardi. Simon thought Casey felt embarrassed, and I felt the same way, and he was embarrassed. Why wouldn't he be? Next was Crystal Bowersox singing Summer Wind. Crystal said she had a deep connection to the lyrics of the song, but she wouldn't say why. What was the connection? It's a song about wind. How can you have a connection to that? How deep can it be? I think she was lying, though. She says something like that every week, so when the judges say that she didn't connect to the song, she can say, oh, well, of course I did. I was singing it for a reason. I thought Crystal looked beautiful. She gets prettier and prettier and prettier every week, doesn't she? And she sounded great as always. As Randy would say, she can sing the phone book, but for me, it feels like she's starting to Melinda Doolittle out. It's like she does well every week, and so it's almost boring to watch her sing. And I haven't liked her song choices, though I can't really blame her for this week, but I'm starting to think that out of everybody left, she would be the worst possible winner. And that's why, she's a lot like Melinda Doolittle, and that's why people love her, because she's a great singer, but is she really going to put out music that people want to listen to? I just don't know. She has that very Jewel, Sheryl Crow, guitar girl from the 90s sound that just doesn't sell anymore. I have no doubt that if they were all to release an album today, Crystal would outsell the competition by a country mile, but unfortunately it's going to be 6 more months before their album is out, and she's not going to have the popularity from the competition to help sell her album, so I just don't know how well she would do on her own. Randy said it was okay, but a little bit sleepy. Ellen wanted her to loosen up a tiny bit more. Cara said it's out of your element, but I kind of liked it. Crystal then sassed and said, I don't think it's out of my element. I don't know if this sassing is helping her out very much. And Simon expects better from her. Next was Michael Lynche singing The Way You Look Tonight. Big Mike said that when this song comes on, everybody gets up and dances. Not me, I kept my tail parked the entire time. Does anybody else that feel like Harry Connick Jr. was trying to talk black to Big Mike? Kind of didn't feel like that. He said, that's what I'm talking about for real, bro. I guess you try to talk to people how you feel like they're talking to you, and sometimes it's kind of awkward. And I felt like it was awkward with Harry Connick Jr. and Big Mike. But anyway, Mike sang great, of course. No matter what the theme, he always sings great, but it always feels like he's singing the same song. I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over and over about Big Mike, but it kind of feels like the same performance over and over and over. I don't know, I think the only interesting thing about the theme is that the awkwardness of the contestants doing the music out of their element, and he felt like he was in his element, so it was just kind of boring to me. At least with Casey it was fun to watch, so I think between those two tonight, I would rather see Michael Lynche go home. Randy said Mike is in it to win it. Ellen said Mike seems to have more comfort on stage than the others. Cara said this is what it's all about, and Simon thinks Mike has put himself back in the game. I don't agree with that. I think he's probably going home. And the last of the night was Dewyze singing That's Life. I thought vocally, this was one of Lee's best performances. It wasn't pitchy and sloppy like it usually is with Dewyze. And though I didn't like the song, it didn't sound like it was 60 years old. So I thought it was a great recovery from last week. I thought he was in trouble last week after that awful performance. So I totally expect now to see him in the finale. I think he's taking his place as the frontrunner away from Crystal Bowersox. I think he's the only one I really feel like I'm definitely going to see in the finale now. But when did he become the good-looking guy, though? At the beginning of the season, I didn't think he was attractive at all, and I read that a lot of people online thought he was pretty ugly. Well, I wouldn't say ugly, but that's what a lot of people were saying, and now he's like the good-looking guy of the season. But he hasn't really changed any. I guess it's just the more you look at him, the better looking he gets. I don't know, but he is really good-looking now. A lot of people keep asking me why I don't like Lee Dewyze. The truth is I do like Lee, but I just don't like the way the judges are up his ass every week. And I don't think he's as great as they make him out to be. I've said it before that he's just an average singer, but of course, that doesn't mean he's not one of the best of the season because they're all pretty much average singers. My problem is that even when he isn't good, they have nothing but praise for him. I thought Chris Allen was a better singer than him from last season, and they rarely had a nice word to say to him. So it just seems very fake the way they talk to him. Part of me thinks that their praise is a calculated way to crown Crystal Bowersox as the idol this year, because since they all proclaim this to be a girl's year early on, they want a girl to win. And, they saw what their overpraising of Adam and Danny did last season. And Lee is good enough that he could have been a Chris Allen type dark horse if they hadn't been praising him every week. So I think that's might end up backfiring on him and make it seem like they're pimping him. And if things continue on the current path, if him and Crystal both make it to the finale, she might end up looking like the dark horse, which is kind of strange. I don't know. Anyway, Randy loved it. Ellen said that if this was the last night, he would have won the whole thing. Carol wants him to go home and write, "I can win this thing," 100 times. That's how my mom used to punish me. And every time I backsassed her like Crystal Bowersox does, she'd add 100 times onto it. Simon said it was by far, for all of us, the best performance of the night. He's speaking for everyone. So anyway, I thought the best of the night was obviously Lee, and I thought Aaron Kelly was very good too. So the bottom three would be the other three remaining contestants. And going home, I would say Big Mike, I hope. The consensus seems to be that it's going to be Casey James, and I would rather see Big Mike go, but it could be anybody. I won't be surprised by anybody going home tonight. But we're going to have a performance from Harry Connick Jr. and Lady Gaga. Oh, I was also asked, who is my favorite contestant? I don't know if I have a favorite contestant this year. Out of the ones left, I think my least favorite is Big Mike because he bores me to tears, and I'm pretty much neutral about the other ones. If I had to say one was going to have more success than the other, I would say Aaron Kelly, but at this point I really don't care who wins, and that makes it kind of dull for me, but I still love this season. I know I complain about the season like everybody else does, and it is one of the more boring seasons, but I still love it. I'll see you folks later.